if you've been listening here for a while, you have heard me really be fascinated over the years with the way that in the last 25 years of news, someone like Jon Stewart on a comedy channel could rise to a trustworthy source when you're not totally trusting where your news and information comes from. And so you lean on a comedian. And I saw, all the polls I've told you about that made him the most trusted newsman in America over all the anchor people who were doing the newscasts. In the modern age, it's been really cool to watch Bill Burr navigate the comedy space and the acting space because he's doing Glengarry Glen Ross on Broadway. He's directing films, but he's also speaking for the everyman on some stuff when it comes to going after Elon Musk or going after healthcare greed or going after the places where people just can't afford to keep up. Bill Burr has been a stronger voice on Elon Musk than almost everyone in America. Yep. And it's been amazing to watch America connect with a comedian that whether you like his style or not, or whether you think he's too angry, he really has broken through as somebody who can master even what people are regarding as difficult comedic times.
Are we calling Bill Burr Woody Plage as well?
Right? I don't know what you're saying there.
Well, Stugotz was harder on Elon Musk before anyone was. And now here comes Bill Burr, horning in on Stugotz's territory.
I just think it's cool that Bill Burr is wading into this because, as we know, most comedians these days are not exactly going to the left on their comedy. They're going to the right on their comedy and toward their audience. And we've had this conversation electorally. Does the left need their version of Joe Rogan? Is Bill Burr that? I don't really care. I'm not interested in that conversation because I think it makes it too simplified in what the issues are in the voting delegate. I just think it's great that you have someone who is out there authentically just expressing how he feels about it and relating to so many people who are so frustrated, but not doing it by stoking the fires of, oh, hey, go look at the trans community, they suck, or go look at this community, they suck. It's not punching down at anybody, it's punching up, which is the thing we've been arguing about with other famous comedians for the last how many years now? This is finally someone punching up at the establishment in a real way.
I don't think it's punching up or punching down. I think what you're witnessing is this is comedy. Comedy pushes back at whatever the conventional norms are. And so the conventional norms for the prior probably 6, 7, 8 years were moving more and more to this, we can't joke about that. Oh, you can't joke about this. And so comedians are wired to be like, oh, watch me joke about this. And so now what's happening is because everything is shifting and the power has shifted and now the culture has shifted, you're seeing Bill Burr being like one of the first guys like, oh, you can't joke about that because now that's what's in charge now. And he's like, watch me joke about this.
What a quack.
I don't know that you could argue
I think
that
it's punching up or
things,
down.
or sure, I get that part of it.
You have to also apply the fact that punching up or down is very subjective.
I just think that when we look at what that shift has been, I would not argue that over the last 7 or 8 years, it's shifted conversationally the direction that you're talking about. If anything, this has been a result of the last, since 2016, us shifting further and further in our conversation away from what we had established the decade before. Because this is sort of acting like all these different communities sort of became a part of the conversation only once Trump was elected. And if anything, it was that he used a lot of those communities to get elected the first time, and they've only become a deeper part of the conversation since. So seeing as they've been the sort of easy target within comedy for the last now 5 to 10 years, it's interesting to see another perspective being taken. And this isn't even in stand-up, by the way. These are just in interviews. These are just on podcasts. These are just, there was one interview where he was saying, was it a sneaker shop? Like there's random jokes being thrown, and it's kind of fun. It's different than what we've seen from a lot of mainstream comedians as of late. And I think that's kind of fun.
How about that, Musk?
I don't think podcasts, like the comedians I know, that's not like, okay, guys, jokes aside, let's take our clown makeup off and let's have a serious conversation. They're not doing that.
No,
it's not different from stand-up.
But why are we seeing it come from Bill Burr and not a lot of other places, right? Or a lot of other
kind of seen it from
comedians
Burr,
as famous as Bill Burr, I guess is more the thing, right? Because we only have these conversations when it's one of the 5 to 10 most famous comedians. If Mulaney was doing something, we obviously talked about Chappelle over and over and over and over and over again here.
I mean, he has regular platforms,
Yeah.
and I do think it's still early in this. We're not even 2 months into the new administration, but Bill Burr was held up by the right often during the last administration. In fact, his Netflix movie was championed by the right for its themes, and he was always kind of held up as someone that would push against this cancel culture. So he's equal opportunity. I just think it's a little bit magnified because the left is chasing now, and he's always kind of remained the same guy.
Stick that in your rocket and smoke it.
So, and I would argue that, again, these are most of the comedians you're talking about things have shifted around them. Even Rogan, and I'm not saying, oh, Rogan's right about everything or smart or brilliant or whatever. But prior to like 2019, I would say most people on the right would be like, Rogan's a lefty liberal thing. Like the weird thing, it's forever. We're just like 9/11 was something that changed how people view everything. COVID is going to do that forever.
Sure.
Because the number of people who were like, that guy's a quack, and then that guy would say something like, yeah, I don't know about this vaccine. And all of a sudden, everyone on the right was like, I always knew you were cool. And everyone on the left was like, you're dead to me. That's what happened for a lot of comedians, a lot of people. Man, I remember, I was just thinking about this the other day. Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving were like, I don't know about the vax. And all of these Republicans were like, yeah, this Kyrie Irving guy, he's great. Like, Kyrie Irving,
right.
Everything he had espoused up until that point would be the most anti-Republican thing. So I see it similarly with a lot of comedians where it's like Mike said, Bill Burr was complaining about cancel culture and like everything being too sensitive, and right-wing people are like, yeah, that guy's cool or whatever. And then what happens is he continues to do his humor, which isn't shifting, but what happens is it's just easy for people to either co-opt or denounce based on, wait a second, you made fun of something that I like or that I believe in.
Comedians are inherently, at their best, anti-establishment, period, right? Like, they're poking fun at the establishment. What it's been, though, is that the right, the present, like, establishment right, has branded themselves as anti-establishment, and so it's been really easy for comedians to shift to the right, be establishment, sucking up to all of these people who are establishment, painting themselves as anti-establishment. It's interesting to see Bill Burr genuinely be that in a time where that hasn't been the case as much in modern comedy, when Joe Rogan is leading the way.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where podcasting and comedy go, just because naturally the cool people are always anti-establishment. What happens when those cool people now find themselves on the establishment?
They're friends with the establishment.
Look, to draw parallels, it was weird. Our show always railed against ESPN, and then we find ourselves in ESPN. It took us a little bit to find out how to be anti-establishment from within the establishment. I think it's going to be really challenging for some acts that are a little one note, and you'll see pop culture kind of move in the direction that it always does, especially in this country, which always seems to be a pendulum.
I think also sometimes people don't catch what's happening. Sometimes people don't understand what's happening. They just see the bland optics on the top. I'll give you a great example. Andrew Schultz interviewed Trump when he was on the campaign trail. And everybody was, oh my God, I can't believe Schultz would do that, And then I said, did you watch the interview? Like, well, no. And if you watch it, what he did was, it was subservient the whole time. They were making fun of Trump, but doing it in a way that Trump didn't pick up on it. Because they praise him for stuff and then throw in some stuff. It's crazy that
that's actually out of the playbook from foreign leaders. Be super complimentary. He only sees the compliments, and then with policy, cut him a little bit, and he doesn't notice.
But they're doing that in the middle of the thing, and I can't count how many friends were like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Either they said, "Well, no, he was just sucking up to him," and I'm like, "He was making fun of him to his face," or they said, "Well, it doesn't matter because they gave him a platform." I said, "Well, at the end of the day, this is the part where I do agree. If Theo Vaughn has an opportunity to book the president of the United States, he's not going to, well, that would be terrible for numbers. Of course he's going to do it, right? Like, because all of these guys, and this all starts with where? It starts with once upon a time, hey, you comedian, you want to make it? You better be at either the Cellar or the Comedy Store and hope that one of these TV execs sees you, and then you get your Seinfeld, right? Or you get cast in Tommy Boy or whatever it is, or you make it to SNL.
Get an SNL audition.
Right? And then like, oh, I have my half-hour special on Comedy Central. Oh, I got my hour special on HBO and then Netflix, right? That was where it was. And then all of a sudden, and one of the guys who foretold all of this, that look, these gatekeepers who are telling me that I'm not funny or I'm not good enough to have my own hour special or I'm not good enough to have my own sitcom, whatever. But I see the crowds that come out when I do shows. I'm selling out everywhere, night after night, two shows a night. It was Andrew Schultz. He told me this in like 2015. He was like, all of this network stuff is dying. The audience is there. And like about, I want to say a year or so later, he put out his special for free on YouTube and it did crazy numbers. And that's where Schultz knew, oh, they can say you're not good enough. Doesn't matter. Well, I have my own economy, my own industry here. And so once you've created, this is the model now for comedians. It's not, I've got to impress the execs over down at Viacom. Now it's, oh, I just have to do something that brings enough people to the shows and supports my content wherever it is. So if I have something, because this is the economy of the internet, doesn't matter if you hate it or you like it, as long as you have a feeling about it, that is monetarily beneficial to me.
And the subversive stuff is important. I think it's also like we've learned that nobody understands anything on deeper levels at this point when consuming media. So that's why there's so many folks who are frustrated by platforming anybody, because we've learned the general audience of anything is kind of too stupid to pick up on anything deeper than the surface level. And that's why Bill Burr so directly just going after Elon Musk with jokes is kind of fun to watch, because it's not this secondhand way of doing it. It's, hey man, I'm going after you, and it's clear to everyone what the intention is, which it's a shame that that's where we're at, but it's clear that context is just no longer really part of the conversation.
And it's no longer important either.
Right.
Like, if you'll be spoon-fed. He campaigned on this and you'll nod along. Yeah, he did. This is what I voted for. And no, none of this stuff.
Right.
51st State, Zelensky's a dictator. Even the Gulf of America was something that happened after the election. The only thing that's remained consistent that he campaigned on is concepts of a plan. But I think Andrew Schultz is very well positioned in that Andrew Schultz, to me, burst on the scene with COVID. And he proved that he could be anti-establishment when the establishment was the right, and he was equal opportunity. Just so happened, as he fully ascended, then the left took over. And again, equal opportunity guy gets championed by the right, but I think he can easily pivot, as he's shown in his career.
Well, the thing that I find interesting about the economy of comedy, right, because especially difficult during the pandemic, you see even the best comics threatened by the inability to tour and the idea that 300 people get to make a living this way, and the streamers exist so that comedy may boom, but it's a tough way to make a living. And, you know, you've got health insurance. The self-employment of it is difficult. And these guys fear not being able to make a living that way. And so they have to make some choices on what's good business. Where are my customers? Where do I meet my customers where they are? And that's where comedians sometimes can end up not standing for very much, right? Like during the modern age, you do have to make a stand on whether you're going to interview Trump or not for the clicks. Yeah. Like you do have to make that decision, and it's fine. It might be good for business and you might choose business there, but Bill Burr is doing something that is just actively outraged as he begins the grumpy old man stage of his career, where he's got the confidence to say whatever the bleep he wants because he knows he's as good as anyone who's ever done it.
He's been a grumpy old man his entire
career. Yeah. Number one. Number two, Dan, I would say that when you say, oh, a stand, take a stand, the only stand comedians have to make, and I got to quote Brad Williams on this one, ha-ha or not ha-ha. That's it. All they got to do is make it funny.
I know, but I'd like the best of them that I remember for all time are the enduring ones who didn't just make it funny. They were they were the best at navigating the times. Like George Carlin isn't remembered by everyone in comedy because he didn't know how to see this stuff 50 years in advance. Josh Johnson's doing this right now with young people where he's really connected in a special place. And the reason he can do it is because from day to day he can change his act because the news is changing every day. So it's just all these people are doing is daily radio shows now. All of them. The comedians have all realized, wait a minute, I could just sit in front of a microphone and just work material for 2 hours and people will eat it up. They'll pay for it.
But then for every George Carlin, and George Carlin, you're right, for everything that you said he's remembered as, I can give you a Jerry Seinfeld, who has never done anything topical of that nature that indicates one way or another.
But the ones that we respect for all time are the Richard Pryors, the Lenny Bruces, the ones that that were of their time and spoke.
No, Nate Bargatze is kind of famous because he doesn't do that.
Mulaney's another
Yeah,
example. Although he has a really, really, really good bit about a horse loose in a hospital.
It's just like again, it's who's like, now if you're middle of the road funny, okay, but if you're funny, man, we respect and remember these guys for being funny, for making us laugh, man. I'll give you another very toxic example. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's most memorable.
Whoa! Where did that come from?
Oh my God, I've never been so happy to hear that music in my life.
Oh, I've been happier at least 2 dozen times.
Can't do another hour on the state of comedy.
What Bill Burr's doing is interesting.